Today we are going to start on our Kandinsky abstract art painting. On day one, the only things that you will need is your piece of paper, a ruler, and a couple circular objects to trace. And I just use whatever happens to be around me, nothing fancy. I have a little roll of tape, a cup, and the top of a candle. So let's get started adding our shapes. You want to make sure if you're using a straight line, you are using a ruler. So let's start with our ruler, and I'll just make some lines with my oil pastel, and we'll get to why an oil pastel is important. We're not using a pencil first because it really doesn't matter. If something ends up where you don't really want it, it's okay because it's abstract. And notice how I'm going in and I'm making sure my lines are super dark. And it's going to take a little bit of pressure. And look, my pastel already broke. So I'll just take the little wrapper off. You can see where I broke it. That's okay. It just means you're using them correctly. Also, you can see where my pastel is starting to smudge. That's important. These pastels are softer than crayons. Your hands are going to get a little bit messy and your paper is going to get a little messy too. Instead of brushing it, you want to either shake it or you want to blow on it to make all of those little pieces go away. I'm just going to put my finishing touches on. And I think that looks good. So I'm done with my oil pastel. My hands are a mess. I'm shaking it off onto my messy mats. And now it's time to go wash my hands, and then we will talk about how we use our watercolors to paint this in. Alright, I am back. My hands are for the most part clean, and I have my painting station set up. In my painting station, I have everything I used before put away, so all of the things that I traced with, my circles, my ruler, my oil pastel is back where it belongs. And I have my messy mats underneath my painting to protect our desks. I have a clean cup of water with a clean paintbrush. I have a paper towel or a napkin to wipe the excess water off on, and I have my watercolors. When we use watercolors, they come in a plastic case that looks like this. This is called a paint palette. So we will open up our paint palette, and we have all of our colors nice and neat in our palette. So let's set that up here so it's in easy access, and you will get your own paint palette. You don't have to share these with anybody. So to get started, we're going to choose a shape to begin with. So I want to start maybe up here in the corner. So let's start with this shape up here. I'm going to choose my first color. Maybe I want to start with blue. So I'll take my brush, I'll dry it off a little bit on my paper towel, and I'm not rubbing it, I'm just patting it dry. This protects our paintbrushes. So see how I still have this really nice tip at the top? You want to be able to keep that tip so you can get in the teeny tiny spots. So I'll put a little bit of blue on my brush, and I'm not digging my brush. I'm just tapping it on top. When you dig, you're not going to get the correct color you want. It'll paint really scratchy. It won't look nice. You want to just tap, tap, tap. And I used a little bit of water. And when you use a little bit of water, see how bright blue that is? It's super bright. And I'm using good brush control to stay in that spot. So now look what happens. This time I'm not even going to put paint on my brush. I'm just going to use what's already on my paper and water. And I can just spread it. So see how it's getting lighter? It's the exact same color, but when I use more water, I'm going to get a lighter color because there's more water than there is color on the brush. As opposed to when I didn't have much water on the brush, it was just color on the brush. So you can get lots of different shades of the same color from your brush. You also might notice that I painted directly on top of these lines, but the paint didn't stick. This is called a resist. Oil pastels are not water soluble, meaning that if you put water right on top, it's not going to mess it up, like if we were to use a Crayola marker or something. So I have my blue up at the top, and I'm sort of getting a really cool pattern that I like. So let's keep that going. And let's choose my next color. You want to make sure when you choose your next color, you're really rinsing off your brush, you're patting it dry, and then I want to choose a warm color to go next to my cool color. So let's go with this orange. And remember, I'm adding just a little bit of water. So I'm going to get a really bright orange. And I want to do the same sort of gradient, meaning going from one color to the next. So I'm just going to get my brush wet, dry it just a little to get that blue off, and then I can spread out that orange color. Again, I can go directly on top of this pastel and it won't budge because it is not water soluble. I might get a little bit of flake in there from the pastel, but that's fine. It doesn't bother us. So now we know how to use our watercolor palette straight out of the pan, meaning we can get this bright blue to go into a light blue, we can get a bright orange to go into a light orange, but what if we want a color that is not in the pan? Watercolor is really nice because we can mix our colors on this right here. This is called the palette. So if I wanted to mix a color, I don't want to mess up these colors because I want them nice and neat. I'll start with the lighter color. So I'll start with yellow, and I'll pull my yellow right up here in this blank spot right here. And then it might not look like a whole lot there, but watercolor is really nice because it's very dense, meaning there's a lot of color in these pans. So now I'll rinse my brush, pat it dry, and I'll take a little bit of blue. And you can start to see here that I'm getting a more teal kind of color. And if I wanted it to be more green, all I would have to do is rinse off my brush and add more yellow. But I kind of like this teal color, so let's stick with it. Rinse my brush to get more water in there. And let's use our teal maybe up here. Oh, see, and when it's on the paper, I think it does need some more yellow. So I can rinse off my brush, grab some yellow, and mix it in. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Now I have more of a teal color. So it's super easy to make a new color, but you have to make it up in the palette up top. And I'm very gently going in with my light teal color and filling in this shape. So when you paint, you want to maintain good brush control and stay in your shapes. And you're going to see me really quick. I'm going to speed it up. And you're going to see me fill in every little section. And then we'll talk about it once it's finished. And there we have our finished Kandinsky piece. As you could see when I was painting it in, hopefully you saw me go in at the end and add a little bit of darker purple around my circle to give it a three-dimensional shape. Hopefully you saw me blend my colors, just like I'm going to do right here, because I noticed spots. See how I'm just blending my colors out with some water so it blends into each other, and I don't have any harsh lines. And hopefully you also noticed that I did not use brown and I did not use black. If you use brown or black, you run the risk of making all of your colors turn brown. So I stuck with my rainbow order colors right here. I mixed a few up in my palette, and you can also see where on my messy mat, I have some mess around the edges where I went off of the edge. And that's okay, because now it is time to clean up our painting station. To clean up our painting station, just fold up your paper towel, wipe down your messy mat so it's not going to get all over everything. And then in the top of your palette where we mixed our colors, let's just wipe it down. And there you have it. Our finished Vasily Kandinsky art piece.